It's kind of hard here in Delaware by the way the systems are structured. So like not at liberty to do much financially. So I gotta the little things I do is when teachers like there are a lot of our teachers come in early, stay late. So when the times where they need to leave early to attend their daughter or son's soccer game and stuff like that, like I'm not going to ding them for that because I've watched this person come in at 7 o'clock, an hour and 25 minutes before their contracted time daily. But then they asked me one time, can they leave 30 minutes early to go make sure they on time to their like that those little ways I can't pay you, but I can reward you those ways because I've seen your work and you've put that 30 minutes in. So go ahead and support your daughter. Also valuing their planning time. That way it's like you're not taking so much of that or saying, hey, or popping in on them, like having a discussion, like letting them be as much as possible during that dedicated time.
Welcome to the podcast, listeners. My name is Shreya and I'll be hosting this podcast today. So the single biggest challenge in education today is people, finding them, keeping them, and supporting them to do their best work. Today, we're talking to a leader who is on the front lines of those challenges. Dr. Jerod Phillips is a principal who made the unconventional jump from the world of finance to leading a high needs elementary school. He's here to share his unique playbook on building a winning team. Dr. Phillips, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's Monday. I'm a leader of a great school. I got some great kids, some great team members, great family at home. So I'm just loving life. It's a great Monday.
We are very excited to have you here. So quickly moving on to the first question that I have for you. So Dr. Phillips, you started your career in finance, and that's a world of numbers, high stakes, and clear bottom lines. What did you see in that world, or what was missing that made you decide to leave it all behind and dedicate your career to education? And are those reasons still relevant?
So I got my undergrad from Delaware State University in finance and banking. So that was the route that I wanted to go. When I came out of college, I was in the insurance field for several years. First year, loved it. And then just after that, just started missing some things. So what I started doing was I started, volunteering and working at this after school program, helping kids, and end up loving it and said, let me just go on and my wife was one of the biggest ones, like, this is what you're supposed to be doing, working with kids. So with her push, that's what led me to the career change. So went through the certification process and knocking down some doors to get that first real teaching job and never looked back, and glad that I did it because the career field is just so rewarding that I'm able to touch the lives of young people.
Okay, I think so. I'm hearing some sort of a calling that came for education. You spoke about your first teaching job. Would you mind sharing a little about how that experience was for you?
So my first teaching job was I taught math part-time at a I don't want to call it alternative school, but it was a program for high school girls that wanted to finish their degree, but they had got pregnant or either had a baby. So it was all girls, like definitely, let me say the student population was definitely under like 15 students. So maybe like 5 kids in each class for 3 periods, part-time, half a day. Loved it. I'm still, some of those students still reach out to me today. And then I was doing that and then still doing after school program. And then I really got my first full-time teaching Algebra 1 in a high school. That right there was lovely. I'm still connected with some of those students. But that really got my feet wet into, okay, these are the things I love, but these are the things I got to change about my practice that don't work. So it was like trial by fire.
I mean, that's really sweet. I mean, if those students are still in like connection with you, then that's really sweet and heartwarming. We love that. Okay. So tell me, how does that background in finance change the way you approach the job of being a principal?
So coming from like corporate America, that field, the accountability, like sometimes in education, just due to just the politics of it all, unions and certain things, just some stuff that you have to accommodate and put up with that doesn't necessarily the best thing for kids. Whereas in corporate world, the bottom line is the bottom line. Like this is the mission, this the vision. The bottom line is the bottom line, and if certain things happen, there's consequence. Oh, I gotta warn you, my automatic lights in here. If I don't move enough, so I gotta make sure I'm moving a little bit. A newer building, so these automatic lights,
That is
but
okay. Yeah.
but that I think that perspective changes the way I lead. And even when it comes to like building budgets and things of that nature, like I try not to cut it too close. I would rather run the risk of having to give a little bit back to my district rather than going over and going in the hole. So I think of it that way, and just think of it trying to be physically responsible of taxpayers' dollars that is, you know, entrusted in me via my building budget. So I think my background in that makes me more cognizant of, like, I'd rather mess up my own personal money than somebody else's in this realm. Not saying I want to mess up mine, but uh taxpayer people working hard for their money, and I want to give their students a world-class education, knowing that a lot of what goes into um tax dollars and everything helps to fund not just my building but me being a leader. So always keep those things in mind.
I think I'm seeing a very holistic leader who actually cares. So yeah, I mean, I'm really like happy to have you here today. Okay, so let's dive into your core topic, that is tackling staffing challenges. You have a
Yeah.
philosophy you call the squad builder. Would you mind sharing a little about what the squad builder is?
So I got this philosophy that I think a lot of schools fail because they look at a lens of, let me get the safe person that checks all the boxes in front of kids. That's not how you build your squad. Like you gotta get people that want to be there for kids, and you may need to work on them with some certification stuff, get them in some certification programs, or they just may be like, their personality just may be rough around the edges, but they're good with kids. You just got to teach them other skills where some other people may be turned off by them. I see the diamonds in the rough. So I got to build a squad that is all about the mission and the vision, and the people that are here that they're not here to socialize. Like sometimes in schools can be a microcosm of society where, okay, I come into a school, I want to be friends with everybody. So if teacher A, B, and C has a problem with student A, B, or C, or parent A, B, or C, I got a problem with them. And that's not the way I'm trying to build. Like I actually try to build a school where it can be complete strangers that I bring together for a common good. It doesn't have to be a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. Sometimes it works out well, but sometimes it can go the other way. So when I think about building my squad and tackling staff challenges, I want to make sure I keep the brand of my school out in front, and the buzz around who I am as a leader, who my assistant principal is as a leader, who we are as a building makes teachers want to come here, even making a change mid-year if I have an opening. That's how I try to just build it, where it's like a place where teachers they really want to be here because of what I stand for and the support that I will make sure that me and my team give them, so that they can maximize their instructional time while minimizing the redirection time of student behavior.
So I heard you talking about picking diamonds. So when you're interviewing for a new potential teacher, what is that one thing that you're looking for that tells you a little more about their future success rather than just their resumes or their just credentials?
So sometimes I watch body language. If it's so if it's, let's say, if I'm the only male, I got to use dynamics. Let's say, as the principal, let's say my assistant principal isn't there, and I'm the only male in the room, and there are my other interview panels are like 4 or 5 women, and the candidate, whether male or female, is only looking at me and doesn't even never address the other people in the room. To me, that's a problem, because everything you may come to me with rather than trying to build a relationship with your colleagues. So I watch that body language. I also like scenario questions. Like I like to see how you answer scenario questions, especially one I like to use of, you disagree with your principal or assistant principal on a decision, how do you go about like tackling that challenge? Like I want to see if someone is going to actually talk about the vulnerability of, instead of complaining to their colleagues, that vulnerability of booking a meeting with admin and bringing the concerns to them and not letting the concerns that that staff member have come through the scuttlebutt arena. So I look at different areas, and I look at different areas in interviews, and when looking at resumes and the things that they talk about where they worked, I'm looking at a lot of times if they've worked in a challenging environment, knowing that we have our school to a place where it's not a lot of challenging behavior. So if you've worked in challenging environments before, our school may be a piece of cake to you just because of the work we've done since getting here in February 2023. So I look at that, and some people look at when people move around a lot. I don't, as long as it's not too much lateral. Like if I see, let's say if somebody's coming to me to be a math coach, and I see that they were a paraprofessional for 2 years, then they were a co-teacher for 2 years, and then they were their standalone teacher for two, and then they may have took like an interventionist role for two. But let's say all of them are in different districts. Some people may look at that as like a lot of movement, but I'm looking at, okay, every move they want to step higher. So what I'm dealing with is a climber. So that can be good and bad, but I'll take my chance with a climber because they're going to come in and try to make sure that they do the best job they can to be recognized. So I look at things a little different.
I love that perspective, and it's such an interesting perspective. We love that. Okay, so once you have that person, how does your squad builder philosophy come into life? Like, what does it look like for your teachers in reality?
So how does it look like once they get in my school?
Yeah.
So one thing they're going to get support from myself, my assistant principal, and our team. They're going to get a school that doesn't minimize their time. And what I mean by that is we try to do as much in the building so that way once they clock out and go home, they can be mom, dad, husband, wife. They can enjoy themselves and not doing as much at home. So we try to embed as much in the school day as possible. Even when I need to pull them for meetings, I'll pull them from their recess time where they'll have recess duty off, and their colleagues know that like they each cover each other rather than pulling from their planning time. And even with our PLCs, we try to embed a lot of work in there where they're reinventing their planning processes and working together as a collaborative. So that way, it's kind of like a shared lift. So everybody isn't just working in a silo. So it's a work in progress because we have some people that like to work as individuals. So I've kind of had to do some forced fun where no, you guys are going to collaboratively plan, and a lot of people's strengths rise to the top during those planning sessions because you see who's actually strong at what.
So you spoke about collaboration. How do you ensure that collaboration is happening? Do you have some activities, or like how does that collaboration thing actually happen?
So minimum once a week, each grade level team has to collaboratively plan. So look, I'm used to this. It's actually quite comical. I'm used to this. So once a week, it's in their schedule on specific days during their planning period, that one planning period a week where their team meets. And I don't create the agenda. I just have a generic form that each team is to use. And sometimes they can get caught up on how to fill out, but it's just like, just capture the notes. I can worry about the boxes later. But that's once a week. So that they're getting that minimum collaboration time. This school year, our SSBs and our faculty meetings, we try to be more intentional about the collaboration there. And when teachers reach out to me about certain needs or certain things, if I know somebody else on team is strong at that, I could be strong at it. But if somebody else on team is strong at it, I try to connect them because I don't want a building to become too dependent on me, because that's what I walked into. Like this building was so dependent on like everything coming from admin. So I'm like just trying to build those formal, informal leaders where they can collaborate. They can come up with ideas. Like I don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. Like that's just not what I want to do. So that's where I gotta keep building that collaboration piece.
That is really interesting. Okay. Okay, so I would want to talk about money a little now. So most schools say that they value their teachers, but the budget is what tells us the real story. So can you share one specific and perhaps unconventional budget decision that you've had to make that directly invest into retaining your staff?
So it's kind of horror here in Delaware by the way the systems are structured. So like not at liberty to do much financially. So I gotta the little things I do is when teachers like there are a lot of our teachers come in early, stay late. So when the times where they need to leave early to attend their daughter or son's soccer game and stuff like that, like I'm not going to ding them for that because I've watched this person come in at 7 o'clock, an hour and 25 minutes before their contracted time daily. But then they asked me one time, can they leave 30 minutes early to go make sure they on time to their like that those little ways I can't pay you, but I can reward you those ways because I've seen your work and you've put that 30 minutes in. So go ahead and support your daughter. Also valuing their planning time that way. It's like you're not taking so much of that or saying, hey, or popping in on them, like having a discussion, like letting them be as much as possible during that dedicated time. Um, Also, professional development. Like even though I can't pay them more of a salary, I try to in my building budget, how we can allocate funds. I try to allocate some of that so much to professional development. So it's enough to go around if a teacher wants to go to a conference that the registration is $50, but they got to travel like maybe an hour or whatever. I'm willing to fund that so that they can grow. Where they're not coming out of pocket. That I can do, but Delaware's like regulations around federal and state funds is pretty challenging from the building level. So I gotta get creative, and our PTO is pretty great. So they like we can't buy food for staff, so they really look out on that regard because their money isn't underneath that federal like we are.
But the fact that you see teachers as individuals who are also maybe someone's mother, maybe someone's dad. We love that perspective. Okay. And how do you retain if you said that, the laws are a little strict there, like, the funds can be a little tight at times. So how do you retain if you don't have the money? We've heard some talks about paying off college loans. So is that something that you guys have thought of?
So I wouldn't have the liberty to do that. I know that I'm pretty sure some districts here in our state are looking at ways. Like I know there's certain positions, there are signing bonuses, certain related service provider positions that don't have a student roster per se, full time. Well, not full time, should I say, but they're full time employees, but they pull and push in. And they hold meetings. Those staff members I know are like or a lot of districts have hired them under the notion that they'll work 4 days in and then have a virtual day to get stuff done or meet virtually with whoever they got to. So that's one way. And I know some districts have went to like in this area have went to like certain signing bonuses, but you got to stay on for a certain amount of time. So like different ways that way. For me, with not being able to pay extra, the main thing about retention for my teachers is them knowing that they're not going to have to be subjected to being disrespected by students. So I look at it as someone can work at a school 30 minutes north and get paid 10,000 more, or they can work for me with 10,000 less. However, at that other school, if their team isn't as strong and every day that teacher's like for the extra 10,000, they're not being able to like fulfill their passion of teaching because they feel like they're managing behaviors. They come here, they don't have to worry about that. They know that that's going to be handled. They know that they're not going to come. That if you work for me, you're not going to be getting hit by a kid and a kid like a first grader isn't going to kick one of my first grade teachers at 10 o'clock in the morning. They're right back in that class at 11:30. That's not going to happen. That's not happening under my watch. So that safety piece and that support piece is how I counteract the lower pay. Now our district's pay has went up a little bit this past year, so it got a little bit more competitive. So that's been at more of a selling point, but it definitely got to think about how we can pay teachers more.
So I think if maybe there is a deficit on one side, the fact that you are fulfilling it with a lot of other things in kind, I think that makes a lot of difference. So yeah, okay. So building a great team also means equipping them with the right tools and like getting results. And you've had a successful rate with chronic absenteeism. So you've managed to cut out chronic absenteeism at your school by 9% in a post-pandemic world. That's actually pretty stunning. So like, how did you do it?
Um, Really just the daily work of teachers when they find out that kids aren't being here, like they're jumping on it. Like I gotta give kudos to my teachers and my secretary and my attendance clerk. Like they can be on families so much. The families like, I'm tired of them calling or emailing. Let me just go on and no, you may not feel well, but you at least go to school. Let them send you home. And that's for that population of where they really have some absentee problems where for lack of a better word, parents just like, okay, they let their kids take a day off here or there. But then that day or two leads to 4 or 5. Our teachers and our secretaries have been really big on being on the parents. And then too, my from a leadership standpoint, hyping the kids up when they come in the door that this is a place they want to be. And when I see their parents know I know about their absenteeism. So it's me just not even bashing them about it. Just like, hey, I'm so glad that Shreya. I got a student named Shreya, by the way, too. Yep. So I'll use your name as an example. So if I see Shreya's mom in the pickup line, it's like, we missed Shreya the last couple of days, like making the big deal that the principal out of close to 500 kids noticed that Shreya has not been here, and making a big deal when the parent does bring them, so they know that they know I'm on notice and that I know my data of who's not here.
So I think that
And I
personal
think
connection does make a lot of difference. I think just them recognizing that, the principal knows who they are, notices these little things about them. I think we really appreciate that. And
yes.
I cut you off when you were saying something. Were you about
Oh no, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay. Also, I'm really excited to know that you have a kid named Shreya in your class. Makes me really happy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So another future-ready strategy is to use technology to support and not burden your teachers. So how specifically are you using AI right now to free up your teachers' time so that they can focus more on the kids and then they can go back home a little lighter on the work part?
So this is where I gotta give kudos. Like I'm always gonna give kudos to my teachers when they're on something. Like my AP and I, we use AI to streamline some things just for the work we do. But as far as teachers, we've noticed like just today, like teacher utilized AI for a specific unit assessment review that they want to do that um they knew their vision, they had everything down, they've done it before, but just let AI like tighten it up a little bit make sure that it aligns with grade level standards. I think that's the way that our teachers are using it up. I've done this. I've done this assignment. I mean, I've done this task for 5 years, and let me make sure it truly aligns with state standards. So I think teachers have really been looking at using AI for that, and then tightening up what they've already done. So not they haven't been creating anything really new with it, just kind of like refining their practices and their thinking.
So that is about the teachers. What about this? What about the students? Like, what are the key future-ready skills that you're prioritizing to ensure that they are prepared for the world that we can even barely predict anymore?
So with the students, it's mainly with our upper grade levels of the teachers just mainly doing a lot of informal lessons of AI has a purpose. Can help students proofread, but like the students got to have the shell and the nuts and bolts of their work, and letting AI like kind of help them fill in the gaps with just some of their tasks. But we're kind of still low level with it because we're still coming off of just as a state, we've started pulling cell phones out of classrooms. So even with the Chromebook devices, we're still like slowly integrating some of the AI tools for student use. Now, some teachers are better at it, they're better with it with students than others, but it's kind of like a slow rollout, so that way it's not like all at once. I sure believe like our adults here are more apt to that AI usage.
have all the questions that I had from my end. So we have this little segment where we ask the previous leader that we've had a podcast with to share a question for the next leader. So the question that has come up for you is that what is the way that we can make parents and communities play a more active role in our schools?
So I'm gonna give you one strategy that I started doing just this year. I
Okay.
started educating parents more on the education jargon. And what I mean by that is, so when we have parents and given like being transparent about where our data is, the amount of students that are actually reading on grade level and where we're trying to go, rather than hiding the data and parents saying, oh, I didn't know our school was this low in this area, or we were still trying to work on this area. A lot of parents don't know what in our state what unit count means. I just in my parent newsletter yesterday, I just educated parents that hey, for the rest of the month, I need to make sure that as all of our kids are in school sitting in a seat, because a lot of our funding will revolve around these days in September that they count up. Okay, these are because we can have a student that just misses the rest of the month, and if teachers don't have work samples for the prior days, we can't prove that that student one of ours, so we can lose out on funding, and that student end up coming back October 15th, and it's like we're going to service them, but we really not getting the funding from the state for that. So educating parents on that piece and just educating them on because a lot of parents aren't up to speed on MTSS or multi-tier systems of support. So if a teacher is telling them we have your son on tier 2 or tier 3 for math or reading, what does that mean? So explain to parents of what does that mean, and the things that we can do here. What are some things that you can do home, where we can meet in the middle? I think that is the way that we get more parent active in school. Like for homecoming, all schools in our district have make a float. Usually, it's just staff. You put in this parents newsletter. Hey, if any of our parents have experience making a float, reach out to these 3 staff members, and we would love to have you. Like just telling them that we need them, that they hold the expertise that we may not, especially they're the expert on their kid. And I think if leaders just do that on a consistent basis, I think parents and communities will they'll want to be more active.
So I think making them feel part of their child's education in like terms of explaining to them the jargon and also making them feel important in terms of that they are needed. I think that does make a lot of difference. So yeah, I think that is all the questions that we had from our side. I think we learned, especially I learned a lot about these small interviewing strategies in terms of noticing their body language and then the specific situation based questions. Love that part personally. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah,
No, thank you.